Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Miss Shubhra Srivastava, co-founder of Garage Plug, an automotive cloud platform for garages and automobile repair. Shubhra is a graduate of University of Rajasthan and has worked for companies such as L&T Infotech, Infosys, ABB, and Nokia before starting her own venture in 2018. Hi, Subra. Welcome to LI.
Hi, Priya. Nice to meet you.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Yeah. So I'm Shubhra, a co-founder and CEO of Garage Plug. And before Garage Plug, actually, I worked with various companies, various multinational companies. And I joined Garage Plug actually in 2018, and the venture itself started in 2017 itself. So I was more of part-time involved at that point in time. But 2018, I came full-fledged in Garage Plug. So Garage Plug, as Priya already told, it's a automotive cloud platform for service centers like repairs or two-wheeler, four-wheeler service centers, detailing centers. So we are majorly focusing on Middle East market as of now. However, this journey started from India market definitely. So that's a very brief introduction about me and Garage Plug. And just on the introduction part, I have two more co-founders in Garage Plug who are a big part of this journey. So Ashish and Rohit. So Ashish is coming from automotive background. He has huge experience in automotive, and that's where we are able to add a lot of value in the product. And Rohit, one of my co-founder, who heads the product. So he has actually initially built the product, and he's gold medalist from National University of Singapore, and he's heading the tech part. So we are three co-founders in Garage Plug, and we are trying to build a big business out of this. So let's see, it's part of the journey.
Can you give us a perspective on what kind of scale we are operating at right now?
I mean, when you talk about the scale, I mean, you mean to say the market you are talking about, or
Yeah,
what?
yes. So, what is the current customer base? How many people are
Uh,
getting served because of our platform,
okay.
etc.?
Okay. So as I told, we started with purely, as an Indian, typical Indian company, and India was the only market. But soon we realized that, we have to go global if we want to really scale the business. And with that thought process, we made the product, available to whole world, to be honest. And currently the platform is being used in 12 plus countries. Okay, and we have so far acquired 450 plus customers, B2B, these garages, workshops. There are, smaller garages, medium, bigger garages also. However, the major focus is on Middle East, as I told. So in our customer base, you can say maybe, 40-50% might be from Middle East itself, and then next from India, and then rest of the world also. So that's the scale we are operating as of now, but definitely focus is on one geography till we reach our next defined milestone, and then we'll get into the other geographies.
Tell us about the market you are operating in. Is there any competitors you have? How does the market operate from a software and technology standpoint?
Okay. So, so as I told, in India, when we started the product, we were not having too much of competition because we were the mobile first, and that's where we got huge traction. And within the launch of, within 1 month of launch of the app, it's a basically mobile app. So within 1 month, we could acquire our first few customers, and within a year, we got hundreds of customers in India. Organically, and without spending too much of marketing and all that. So but soon we hit the wall where we were not able to scale, and that is where we actually built another product, which is our global product. And we launched that product for the whole globe. And luckily, or surprisingly, we got initial customers from Middle East itself.
Mm.
So our first few customers, they came from Dubai, and they saw huge value, and we were also not very clear about the market that point in time, like, how this whole Arabic market operates, what is that people were looking at, and we were pretty new to that market.
Mm.
uh, but then as we started doing a lot of conversation with the people, we came to know that there was very less competition that point in time.
Mm.
I mean, if you talk about US market, it is very much organized. There is already a lot of competitors are there, a lot of players are there in this segment. But Middle East, I'm talking about 2.5 years back. Not many companies were there, and whoever was serving this segment, they were more of local companies giving some outdated old school type systems, and digitalization was not so much. People were not so much, they were not caring too much about the digitalization and things like that. But now we actually entered in the at the right time when this wave was coming. The VAT introduction happened, and we were offering cloud based systems as offering. So that's where we could see that there is huge potential because of less competition, and also the product was pretty much fit for Middle East market. And within 6 months, like first 6 months, it was very hard to understand the psyche of the people or understand the market itself. So we took a little bit harder path where me and one of my co-founder, always every other month we were used to travel from India to Dubai. And we were literally used to do field sales. We were literally used to knock each and every door, talk to hundreds of people. Like if we have made a visit of talk to hundreds of people, in that one week, every day we'll talk to at least 20, 30 people. And so that's where, like, first 3 4 months we could get a hang of whomever we are showing the product. They were appreciating a lot, and they were like, most of the, at least 70 80% people were telling, oh, we wanted something like this.
Mm.
So so that gave us huge confidence. Oh, this is the right place and there is a demand. And those visits, field visits, even though we were a cloud based platform and it's a SaaS offering, why we have to do all this thing. But that, I mean, those visits gave us very much deep insight about the market and the people also, personas also, who are these people who are going to get the maximum benefit from the product. So that's how the journey started in the Middle East market. And definitely too much of struggle initially, but we were in early stage, so we did not face too much of competition that point in time. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the product journey, usually products start from a MVP stage and they reach a product market fit stage. So where exactly do you stand right now? Have you achieved product market fit, or are you just behind that, or?
So So product market fit is very much, it's a moving target, to be honest, because environment is changing, things are changing, and people's psychology, everything is changing actually. So product has to keep evolving. That is what I have learned so far. So so definitely we started with MVP. Okay, so our initial product was very tiny product. It has very minimal features because it was more to understand. Okay, people, is this something which will add value to people's business or their life. So after we launched MVP and we got huge traction, we were very confident, oh, this is the thing, this is the way forward, and we need to really build on this, the same product. And then our journey was where our product roadmap was very much driven by our customers only. So to be honest, for almost 1 or 2 years, 1.5 2 years, we never had our own internal roadmap. It was always driven by the customers. So if we are giving X, the customer is saying, oh, I need this Y also. Then we'll evaluate, definitely we'll talk to 10 more people. Oh, if we add this Y, what you will gain, will it help you, how much time you can save, or how this whole thing can help. So we were actually doing a lot of conversations with people. And whatever comes in the market, as a demand from the customers, we were literally building our roadmap based on that. And that is how we have even did the product market fit for Middle East geography also. So our product was initially built for India, and we know Indian market, we know workshops, everything. We have gone there physically. We saw everything. But when you get into any other geography, you have to literally understand what are the, even there are even small things, even the name, how the terminology used. So there are a lot of things which you need to understand, before you say, oh, you have the product fit, and people will be able to correlate. So very, simple example is, if you are getting into Middle East, with your product, you need to have Arabic language. So we realize that very early, and we actually have our product in Arabic language also. So 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 our product building or roadmap was purely, driven by the customers. And we were lucky enough that the when we started with Middle East market, the first when we acquired first couple of customers, our, in first five customers, there was little bit, higher ticket customer, like bigger customer, who actually funded us to build the product to next level. So we actually co-created, the whole product, to the next level with the help of our own customer, and funded by the customer. And then we were and after building that, when we pitched to other people, they were pretty much appreciating. So that was the path we took.
Okay.
So 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 that's how our journey is. So still it is the same thing. We are getting signals from the market. Okay, this is something, coming up now. There is a lot happening on the mobility direction, so we are also getting into that. We're building a lot of, add-on modules, platforms, to support that. So it's a moving target, so there is never absolute product fit, in my opinion. Yeah.
If I were to ask you, can you tell me what is the exact problem that you are solving for the industry?
Okay, so so there are a lot of problems with the kind of segment we are targeting. So if I have to look back and look at the India market, when we started in 2017, literally, if you get into any workshop, multi-brand workshop, typically you will find everything will be on paper, pen and paper. Okay. So that was the situation that point in time. People, I mean, they were not aware they have to use any digital system, to organize the operations basically,
Mm.
or implement. They have to implement some kind of best practices. That is something only OEMs will do. Dealership level, operations, they can do all these best practices. So that kind of awareness or knowledge, or that kind of aspiration was very low, back 3 years back or 4 years back. But now, things are changing. So what we can see is, even these multi-brand mid-level or higher level operations, workshops, so having this kind of an end-to-end digital system is really a need. So that is one basic problem what we are solving. But on top of that, there is a big thing which we are trying to, our whole focus is actually getting into customer experience. So how the product is evolving, and what the biggest problem we are solving right now is, the customer experience side. So that is the value proposition we are adding in, in the product itself. So this is the major thing what we are seeing, and that is where we are also getting into up in the, segment also. So initially we started with smaller workshops, where we are kind of, giving a business platform where they can just organize the operations. But now we are targeting very big, manufacturers, oil companies, all that. And uh, for them, the biggest value proposition is not just to manage business. It is more about, consumer experience, customer journey altogether. So our value proposition is also completely now getting shifted to, the biggest value what current product is giving. It is all about, consumer experience. That is what, we are offering right now.
Fair enough. You said your product or business roadmap is mostly dictated by the customers. And can you tell me if we have a vision for the company or the venture we are building?
Mhm. So the vision is like we want to become a, the platform or ecosystem which can connect all elements of the automotive industry. So currently, we are just addressing one segment, like, service. So going forward, we want to expand and, connect everybody, like even the parts, OEMs. So if we can connect everybody and build the complete ecosystem, So that's kind of a long-term vision. So definitely we are not yet there. We are near to that, but that's the long-term vision, and we are moving towards that already.
Okay. Now, uh, coming to the personal side of being an entrepreneur, can you tell us uh, why you have chosen to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so this is not something I mean, recent as such. Like even before, I mean, as per my personal journey, so I have almost 20 years. I have worked with companies. I was in job like most of my career. So only in 2018 I came into Garage Plug. However, when I was working with various companies, I always had that kida, have to do something on my own.
Mm.
And various point in time I tried getting out of that and starting something. Even within the companies also, took initiative and started small venture funded by the company. So those kind of things I was I was doing for a long time, like 5-6 years. Tried doing various things, but nothing clicked.
Okay.
So that is where I thought, okay, now enough, and I have to completely come out and take this big risk. And I have to, I mean, now money was not the motivation that point in time. Success was the motivation. So doing something on my own. So that kind of a passion was there, that I want to build something and see that thing, whatever is built is used by some people and adding a lot of value to those people. That kind of satisfaction I was, kind of hungry about that kind of satisfaction. And that gave me that courage that, okay, I have to leave my, thick paying, job, and come to zero level, and get into this venture and build this company. So yeah, so that was the journey. And so this thing was there in head, but it, I mean, I can see a lot of young entrepreneurs who soon after college they are doing that. So that's great actually. So my journey started very late, So almost after 20 years of work experience, I got into this venture. Yeah.
How did you find your co-founders?
Okay. So so that's very interesting actually. So we are actually, uh, we are family, to be honest. So
Okay.
no need to find. So Ashish, who is my co-founder, he's my husband. And Rohit, who is my another tech co-founder, he's my brother. So I need not to hunt for anybody. So but we three have our own unique capabilities. So I am heading the business because that is what I know, and Ashish is heading all the domain customer success part. That is what he knows. And Rohit is heading the product. He's a tech geek. He can build things overnight. So we have this kind of a unique combination. So that's where, so we met long back. So it's not any coincidence or anything. So we know each other, and we know what we are good at, and we wanted to build something, all three of us. And
Okay.
that's where we started this. And as I told you, Ashish and Rohit, they started this venture in 2017 first. And I joined, I was supporting them part time along with my job. And one point in time, I thought, okay, that's not going to work. And then after almost a year, like 2018, I joined them full time. And that's where we started the global business as well. Yeah.
Okay. Finding co-founders is usually a tough one, but you seem to figure it out early on. But the next tough job is to find a team to build a product and build a venture. Can you tell us how did you recruit different people into your team, and what kind of people do you try to hire into your venture?
Okay, so as a bootstrapped company, we were not having much money, to be honest. So, we cannot hire big shots and all that. So, so we took a path where, our initial team was more of, our existing known people. Definitely, we hired a couple of people whom we knew already, who can work with us. And then what we did, we actually hired most of the freshers. And we went to colleges and hired them, and we trained them for a couple of months. And we were used to co-work, everybody was working together. And that's where those people, they are now at a stage where they are outperforming. They are doing pretty good job. So that's what we did in the initial phases. Like, initial team was pretty much fresh young people, who even we didn't know how, what is that we need to do next. And those people are also very fresh, so we were used to work together and find our ways. So that's how a couple of years we worked. And now we are in a stage where we are literally building a more mature team, where we are hiring a little bit senior positions also. And there, our philosophy is not like, I mean, if you ask me how I find people, how I find talent, I generally don't look at what they have done in past too much. My way of looking at is what they can do in future. Like, what is the thought process, and what is the potential, in a person. So, and we are very much, culture driven, value driven company. So for us, values and person being fitting into culture is the most important thing. Rest of the things can be learned. Till the time you have the right attitude, right value system, we feel that somebody working with us can definitely groom. So with that philosophy, we generally hire people. So yeah, that's our way of, getting people on board. And we usually believe in getting people from network. So that's another thing. We hunt people in our own network. And and we have hired people with whom we have worked earlier. Like, we have people from Toyota, like, who have work experience with Ashish. We have people who have worked with Rohit before, so we have them on board. So, we are getting people in our own network, or we have, fresh out of college, and we build them.
What are the different challenges that you have faced over the year as an entrepreneur?
I mean, as an entrepreneur, our life is only challenges, nothing else. So every day is a challenge. Okay. So every day we try to solve a lot of problems. Every day we solve few problems and we generate more problems.
Okay.
So that way, every day is a big challenge. That is what I like. However, if you're talking about the biggest challenge, it was definitely coming, shifting to global market was the biggest challenge. And if you, I mean, if I have to talk about literally, in the business, at the business level, that point in time, the biggest challenge was to find the right geography and find the right segment. Even though you have built the product, if you are not able to find the geography and the segment, you are kind of already failed. So that was the biggest challenge. And there we were lucky enough that we got enrolled into one of the accelerator program. And within first few months itself, we got huge clarity, and we immediately acted on things. And we, kind of created the roadmap, and acted on those kind of things, and selected the right segment, geography, everything. Everything, all those things were messed up actually. So that was making us, that was the biggest challenge, where we were kind of stuck. We were not able to move forward. So if I have to look back, that was the biggest challenge I can think of, and which we could overcome. But it's all, the journey is all about challenges only. So still, if you ask me, I can give you 10 challenges what I'm facing right now. Yeah.
You also spoke about some failures. Can you highlight some of the interesting failures that you have gone through?
So I think, yeah, as I told, the biggest thing was, we were totally betting on India market, and that was a big failure. Because uh, I mean, even though we lost 1 year, figuring out how to scale business in India market. But it was very clear that if we are having this kind of a SaaS offering, India is not the market where we can scale. So that was the biggest failure, which we were facing. We were not able to accept that point in time, but soon after we accepted, oh, this is not going to work, we have to move on. Then a lot of changes happened. We came up with a new product, and a lot of things, a lot of changes happened that point in time. So that is one of the thing, which I can say. So even though I'm saying that India market that point in time was failure, but now we are coming back. And now, in the enterprise segment, we are kind of having big deals in India itself. If we are talking about SM that point in time, it was not moving ahead.
Okay. As a company, what are some of the metrics that you usually measure and track to know if you are on the right path or not?
Yeah, so metrics wise, we have a very clear, metrics like we generally measure MRR, monthly recurring revenue. Are we growing or not?
Mm.
And definitely being a bootstrapped company and capital efficient, we always see if I'm spending $1, I should get back $2. Okay, so those kind of things we measure. So these are the major things, and definitely we also measure, the acquisition cost, and yeah. So these are the major things what we measure here.
Okay. Uh, as an entrepreneur, how do you define the term entrepreneurship?
How do I define the term? So I think it's all about the passion, and the journey is very bumpy. So if you are ready to take challenges, then get into this. Otherwise, there is no point. So you should love to take challenges. You should love to uh, I mean, whenever every morning when you get up, you should have that passion. Oh, I'm going to solve these problems today. I'm going to do something new today. So that's the definition for me for the entrepreneurship. It's very different to working in a company in a settled job, and this life is very different. So yeah.
Okay. My final question, tell us about different learnings that you have got as an entrepreneur, which we can take away and apply to our lives or our ventures.
So one of the thing, as I told you, like I mean, building a product is not sufficient. When you have built the product, definitely you need to understand what value this product can give, and whom it can give the maximum value. So figuring out that, it looks like a simple thing, like we as Garage Plug, we are giving product to garages. So it's very simple. Oh, garages are our customers, but that's not something which will result into business. So finding the right segment, even in garages also, this whole portfolio also, like in this market segment also, if you can identify, okay, which is the segment who can get maximum value from your product, you can figure out that. And the whole strategy in terms of marketing, sales, product, if you can drive through that segment, in a very focused manner, that will definitely give you results. If you are going to target everybody, you are going to target all geographies, you are going to target, serve to everybody, then you are definitely going to get stuck, because with limited bandwidth you cannot do everything. So this is one of the big thing, big, I mean, one of the message which I want to give to others. If you are really looking at scaling the business, then figure out who is your right ICP, ideal customer profile or persona, and make strategies around that. And you should be confident enough, oh, this is the persona who is going to get maximum value out of your product. And if you're able to deliver the value, then the person is going to pay you. So there is no doubt about that. So yeah, this is the main thing which I want to highlight here.
Okay. Well, I think I am out of questions, Subrat. I would say it was an interesting conversation and absolute pleasure to host you at ELI. Thanks for your time and our best wishes for the Garage Plug.
Thanks a lot, Priya. Thank you, nice talking to you. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.